Hi, it's me, Ingrid INFP, and we're going through my neuropsychiatric assessment, basically my autism and ADHD assessment. I've done one video about my childhood in the assessment, but now we're going through my symptoms and also my their like how they counted all of the different tests and everything. So first, they go through my organization. Ingrid has big problems starting things and procrastinates a lot. All household chores and hygiene are difficult for her to start. It can take several hours for her to start, for example, showering, but it doesn't always happen, and then it happens the next day. She has difficulty planning to do something that she's thought to do. Sometimes it's more like things become done when she happens to start it. Sometimes she starts something even though it's something that she doesn't have time with. More administrative things is not so difficult for her. She can take care of and pay her bills, and she can write her administrative stuff at work on time. She studied at university. She spent all of her free time on studies and did not procrastinate the studying. I did procrastinate, but okay. She always kept to deadlines and managed her exams, which is true. She has a hard time planning and structuring what she needs to do, to plan for buying food, going to groceries, following recipes is very difficult. She's before always had to buy ready-made food. She has to think about everything that she does, and nothing she describes is automatized. To cut vegetables, to clean, to shower are all things that she needs to do consciously. She has difficulty with bigger chores like cleaning the home, needs to do a very small task, and it's often that she starts something else rather than doing the task that she had thought to do. She never completely cleans the house because she never has the energy to finish it up. Ingrid has she needs clear instructions to understand what is expected of her and what she needs to do. She has had complaints from earlier colleagues when she didn't remember routines or did things in the wrong way. If she didn't get an instruction, she has difficulty understanding what is expected of her. For example, to write referrals or to renew prescriptions, which is untrue, because I was telling her, the psychologist, about time where I worked at a psychiatric place, and basically nobody knew what I was supposed to do. Like they knew that they needed an extra person, but they didn't know what my job description was, and they didn't tell me what to do. And so I was there, and nobody had showed me what I was supposed to do. And it's like, I think that whether you were autistic or not, you would have said that something was wrong. I think that yes, it is true that I need to get instructions in order to understand completely what I need to do. Maybe I need more explanations than others. But I think that the situation that I was in was, really stupid to begin with. Also, they're also referring to a time where I was working as a nursing assistant at an old age home, and the people there, they were like, this is the way that things are done, and I was like not understanding. In that case, I think that has to do with my autism. After a day at work, Ingrid is completely done and needs to go home and lie in bed. She has no regular routines, which means that she's stressed or forgets to take her medicines or to brush her teeth. She tries to shower 2-3 times a week, but often does not manage this. She has tried to have lists, but that's an extra moment of stress. If she does something outside the regular, then all of her routines fall apart. It's often very messy at home, in Ingrid's home, but she knows herself where everything is. When she feels good, she feels she gets everything with her that she needs in her bag, but when she is burnt out, she has difficulty to keep an eye for all of the things that she needs. She rarely loses things completely, which is true. I think that it's because I was trying to justify why I would have ADHD, and this was something that would go against ADHD. She is always a little bit late to work, but always comes in time for her booked patients and meetings. She looks at her planned activities, her meetings, and she has a calendar. Sometimes I don't come in time for my patients, but it's like, it's only a few minutes. If it gets to be more than 5 minutes, I start apologizing to the patients, basically. Anyway, concentration. This one is a little bit, has times in her life read a lot, and as a teenager she read 100 books in a year, which only happened 1 year, okay? But okay, she reads now 20 to 40 books per year, which is true now, but there were several years there where I did not read at all. When Ingrid was burnt out, her concentration was much lower, but she says that she still tries to read and that she needs pauses. Sometimes she can have a good focus and read long periods. I think that when I'm burnt out, I cannot read. I really cannot. So yeah, I think that it's a little bit more positively written here, but than it actually is. When she studied, her concentration worked well when she went on lectures. It was difficult when she was having to study on her own. She had to find the right environment to be able to focus. She became very easily distracted at home and got stuck scrolling on her phone instead of studying, was very easily distracted of sound, and needed to have the right environment to be able to focus. The concentration works well in her patient meetings. She can have difficulty focusing as she's not always interested in what the other person says, or she's already beginning to think of what she herself wants to say. It helps her to write down notes so that she can keep her focus. To listen in meetings works well. I do want to say that when it comes to patient meetings, I do sometimes, or quite often, zone out, but often it's not too bad. I can actually get my focus back on track. She doesn't daydream, can focus well as long as she's not worried for something, which then again, I'm not so sure about that, but okay. She can be restless and irritated when certain discussions come back again and again, but she tries to keep, or she doesn't like when it doesn't keep to that agenda or if there are conflicts at meetings. When she works on her own, she can focus well, but she needs to take a lot of pauses to manage her work day. She works best when she gets undisturbed work, and she finds it difficult to shift focus when colleagues want to ask something. She seldom makes mistakes in her work and takes a good time to do the whole work correctly. She often can focus in conversations with others, but is often very preoccupied with what she herself wants to say, which is true. Hyperactivity and impulsivity. As an adult, she's always had difficulty with energy and has been tired. She's never been hyperactive or have difficulties sitting still. She can have days with more energy where she feels like she can do more, but then crashes later. Ingrid manages with only one activity after her work time. If she showers, reads a book, cooks food, or exercises, she doesn't manage to do anything else that evening and needs to rest. Even if she's tired, she has a hard time falling asleep. So she uses propaganda medicine sometimes because otherwise she can wake up too early. Ingrid has always been very careful and is an overthinker. She rarely acts on impulse and has good patience. However, she can interrupt sometimes in conversations. Then we get to the social interaction. Ingrid describes that social interaction does not come natural for her, and she needs to work hard consciously to keep up a social behavior, and it takes a lot of energy. She never takes contacts with people that she doesn't already know, and avoids bigger social events in general. Ingrid does not go parties after works or the like. Not really true. Sometimes I go to them, but it's not really fun. She finds it difficult as she doesn't know where she should stand or who she should talk to. Ingrid finds that she has easier time talking to people that she already knows, like at work. When she has a coffee pause or lunches is the social interaction that she has in the day. She doesn't meet friends in her free time, which I do, but not often. She describes the colleagues at her work as a group of nice mothers to her. Which there are certain of my colleagues that are the nursing assistants are kind of like my extra moms. She has a tendency to herself talk a lot and talk too much of a long time without noticing that others want to talk. If she's come to a conversation topic that she wants to talk a lot about, she can talk to a very long time. If the conversation goes to something that she's not interested in or cannot relate to, she often becomes quiet and doesn't say much. She often feels that she cannot be finished with what she has to say about a topic. She finds that it's become easier to talk to others with time. Before, she's been mostly quiet and did not interact much in conversation. She has learned with time. Before, she used to interrupt people, and now she's learned to keep herself back. She often has to think about not talking too much. What she likes, she herself likes to talk about medicine, linguistics, and other cultures. She has a difficulty being interested for what the colleagues talk about and the interests that they have. Ingrid has a hard time putting herself in other people's feelings, in experiences that she does not have the same frames of reference than others. If she is not herself experience something, that she cannot put herself in the shoes of the other person that's telling the story, she often does not understand what other people mean in conversations, and has to think a lot about what other people mean. She has a hard time interpreting what is subtext in a conversation. She shares spontaneously her own experiences, but she forgets to ask other people questions. She's learned that it's like good manners to ask questions to others in a conversation. The same goes for my own, for her own feelings. She tells others about her feelings openly, but has to work on showing interest for others, which I don't know. I think that I try, and I do find interest in what other people are feeling, but yeah, I don't know. She she tends to share too openly and honestly, and other people have described her as too intensive because of this. Too intense. She's become better at not being too honest, and she has worked on keeping back and to be able to have white lies, which isn't completely true. I haven't worked on on keeping white lies, but I have worked on not oversharing, basically. Non-verbal communication. Ingrid finds that it's difficult to have eye contact, and she has a hard time listening to what other people say and to, at the same time, meet their gaze. She has been told before that it seems like she's not listening with patience. She has a trick to like lower her, like to have a better comfort level, is that she tries to see what eye color the patient has. If she, because she doesn't have eye contact, she misses also a whole part of nonverbal signals. I think that this is something that neurotypicals don't really understand, is that they think that we are missing the signals because we're not making eye contact, when actually for an autistic person, I think that whether you make the eye contact or not, you will not be able to understand the situation. You will not be able to understand what the person is meaning by their facial expression or their nonverbal communication. So it doesn't matter for me whether I look at somebody in the eyes or not, or I'm just looking at them in their general direction. It doesn't help me in understanding what the situation is. And this has happened several times where neurotypical healthcare providers will be like, oh, but of course you don't understand because you're not looking at me in the eyes. And it's like, yeah, but actually what I'm doing is actually helping me understand the situation by focusing my attention on another point than on your face. Yeah, that's just a side note. And she thought earlier that she had a easier time to understand nonverbal signals in others, but she's more and more understood that there's a lot that she misses. It can take a long time before she understands something that hasn't been said straight out. Ingrid has a hard time understanding the more subtle, and she would rather people be clear and to the point. She often takes things literally, and she has a hard time understanding if somebody is making a joke or if they're being serious. And then we've got about my capacity to develop, keep, and understand relations. Ingrid has today a close friend that she meets around once a month. She has known him since she studied, and Ingrid feels that she can be herself with him. They go often in town, then they cook food, and then they maybe watch a film. Then they talk about, they both studied in a different country than Sweden, which means that they can understand each other well. We have other reasons that we're friends, but that is the reason we became friends from the start. She has some people from her study times, but she meets them very seldom. She doesn't like to have too much contact with friends, and seldom talks to friends between the times that they meet, which is untrue. I think that I'm often the one who has to take contact with the friends because they won't take contact with me, which really sucks. But yes, I don't have as much contact with others than some people do. She hates to talk on the phone. She does not have any friends in the town where she lives that she meets on the free time. She's heard from people who know her that she's too intense in her relationships and speaks too much about herself. It led to that an earlier friend broke the friendship with her. Ingrid has, in periods, have difficult time getting friends. During her teenage years, she was very alone, and she had a hard time making friends. She has, in periods during her whole development, being bullied, and even at workplaces felt that she was bullied. She has never had a romantic relationship and doesn't yearn for one. It's not often that she's interested in someone, and she doesn't understand the whole thing with relationships. I love how I express myself there. She would rather have close friends and not be alone, but she doesn't want a physical intimacy or to live with somebody. She's gone on a few dates, but she felt that that wasn't really the thing for her. Then we get to stereotype and repetitive behaviors. Ingrid has a whole range of repeated bodily movements. She can jump on her toes. She can flap her fingers. She can pick at her skin. She has always liked to pick at different things, like fiddle with things. She has no repetitive behaviors, but can repeat what other people say, which is echolalia. She doesn't use the word here, but yeah. While she was growing up, there was a friend of hers who said that she should stop repeating everything that she said, because I was repeating what this girl was saying all the time. She can even today sometimes get stuck for a certain word or phrase that she uses again and again during a period, which I guess is true for most people, but yeah, I do that quite a lot. Inflexibility and routine. Ingrid likes, in general, things to be certain in life and to be predictable, and she would rather not change things that are her usual. She would, for example, go the same way to work. If she has to go another way to work, she needs to get ready before. Things need to be done in a certain order, and it feels wrong to do things in another order. She can, for example, not brush her teeth when she already has her shoes on, or before she's eaten, which is why it never happens. Basically, yeah, I mean, certain things need to be done in a certain order, and that kind of gets me stuck. And it's not because I feel like it's wrong, it's because it just adds an extra step. If you brush your teeth and then you eat, then it's like you've kind of undone what you've just done. Like, I want my actions to actually serve a purpose. Also, if I put my shoes on and then need to brush my teeth, then that means that I either get the floor dirty or that I walk around with my shoes to brush my teeth. I mean, yeah, so the consequence is that the brushing of the teeth does not get done. But at the same time, I'm not undoing the work that I've already done by putting my shoes on, you know. So I think that that's not really about routine. It's more about how I don't have the energy to do extra steps. But yeah, anyway. Ingrid often eats the same food every day. When she has the energy to cook, it's often the same thing. It's often pasta with tomatoes and onion, which isn't true. That's not what I eat. It's pasta with ready-made sauce and cheese. And often broccoli or corn. But anyway, it took a long time for Ingrid to train how to cut an onion and how she should cook the food. Often she does not really cook anything because she doesn't have the energy, and she often eats bananas, cocktail tomatoes, and chocolate. She's now tried with basically HelloFresh to get more variation, and she's completely finished after cooking. And she has a hard time getting used to bigger changes like moves, like house moves. The light comes in other places in the room, and she has a hard time to get used to that and to get used to things like the laundry room. She doesn't like going to cut her hair, as change is difficult, but also she doesn't I don't know why they said that the change was difficult, and often that it's not the way that she had thought. She often cuts her own hair or lets her mom do it. Ingrid can think of certain spontaneous things if they're on her own initiative, but she needs to be prepared before otherwise. That's not true. I do like certain spontaneous things, but it's often when it's my best friend that has initiated it. Also, for me, going to to cut my hair is not just about change, it's also about the sensory part of it. But yes, this is the chapter about change and inflexibility, so obviously that's why she's writing this here. Then we've got the strong fixation interests. Right now, Ingrid is very interested in sects, especially Mormon sects. Cults. Sect is the word for cult in Swedish. She reads a lot about her interest and watches documentaries. The interest takes a lot of her free time, and she often uses at least 2 hours or more per day. She's also interested in the personality model of Myers-Briggs and has a YouTube channel, that's you, about the topic. She's been interested since she was 15 and is sometimes more stuck on it intensively in periods. She's before been very interested in Harry Potter. She's been reading a lot. She wrote fan fiction. She was part of a discussion forum. She has, in conversations, a hard time stopping herself from discussing more about that topic when it comes to her special interests. When she has started with her special interests, she has a difficulty taking pauses, and it often takes time from things that actually need to be done. Then we get to the sensory hypo and hypersensitivity. Ingrid describes a strong sensory sensitivity. She has difficulty for different material. She has difficulty to shower as everything gets wet and cold. She hates to have wet hair. She has even difficulty for sound of water and of the blow dryer. She cannot shower in her current apartment as there's too much sounds, and she needs to take a bath instead. She hates unpredictable loud sounds like motorcycles. She finds that she doesn't find that she's very selective with food, but often finds that consistency of food is more important than the actual taste. When she eats very few types of food and often eats the same thing, even if she could eat something else. She hates environments with a lot of sensory input, and she becomes ready to cry when she feels overstimulated. Often is one stimulated the last drop, and she can get a lot of anxiety and needs to isolate herself. She has difficulty to answer if others talk to her then. She uses often ear defenders to cut off sound. Ingrid finds certain materials and likes to touch the materials. She's bought fidget toys, which she likes the consistency of. She likes the sound in the in the laundry room and becomes calm of that. So that's about my symptoms. We'll make another video about the actual results. So that will be my third and last part of this. I'm making this video mostly for myself, but maybe there's somebody else who is autistic that relates to the stuff that's in my assessment. I know that these videos are probably kind of boring for people, but I do want people to know kind of like what is in an autism assessment. If you're about to go into your own autism assessment, or if you have already been assessed and you want to know like the variety of the things that can be written in an assessment, because I know that there's a lot of variety and so many things that can be different. So yeah, tell me what you guys think. Have a great day. Bye.